Welcome, my name is Dr. Isabelle Zaugg. I'm presenting the talk, Let's Talk About Scripts, bringing a concern around scripts to our larger conversation about disrupting digital monolingualism. So to set the stage and differentiate between language and script, we have 6,000 to 8,000 plus languages in the world, and difference of opinion rests upon which are dialects and which are languages. When it comes to scripts, these are the written characters that we use to represent languages, and there are around 300 historical and currently in use scripts. Language and scripts have a relationship that is not one-to-one nor static. So for example, scripts like the Latin script or the Cyrillic script, the Devanagari script are used for multiple languages. While Hanzi is not unique to Chinese writing system, it's also used for Japanese, Classical Korean, and Vietnamese. And in the picture you see Azerbaijani, which in its history has been written in the Arabic, the Latin, as well as the Cyrillic script, and even simultaneously in all of these. Many of you may be familiar with linguist prediction that 50 to 90% of languages risk extinction this century. And it's not only languages, but also scripts that are being displaced and disappearing, as well as also emerging. There are a number of new scripts that have been invented in recent history. But we also see a pattern of the spread of the Roman script through colonization, through evangelization, and Bible translation, as well as linguists who are often the first to take oral languages and give them a written form in the Latin script. We also see now digital technology contributing to this pattern, as the history of technology meant that the Latin script was the dominant and the default script. And so we see many languages now being written in the Latin script just out of convenience. Now, why should we care? Many people argue that this process of language extinction and script displacement is really inevitable. But the reality is that as languages go extinct, we lose intergenerational knowledge, cohesion, and identity. And losing a script also cuts connection to a community's literary record, among other issues I'll be discussing. So what are the politics of our language technologies? Langdon Winner asked the question, do artifacts have politics? And we need to ask, who is this digital tech for? When we look around our built world, we see choices made through design. So in the first picture, you see benches. These can be used for people to take a rest, but that armrest in the middle makes it impossible for homeless people to sleep on them. And similarly, in our digital world, we see design allowing certain users to have ease of use and other users to have a very difficult or impossible time to use the technology. Andres Kornai is a computational linguist who found in 2013 that 95% of languages will not attain digital vitality, where that is defined as a combination of both digital support and digital use. And particularly, we see languages written in non-Latin scripts that are suffering from this lack of digital support. And he says, in fact, what we'll see with this vast majority of languages is digital language extinction, a combination of loss of function as people are either forced or incentivized to use more dominant languages like English to, say, write emails or text messages, a loss of prestige as there's a sense that languages that are not supported don't really have a modern future. And then a loss of competence. So especially for young people, if they're not using a language or a script in digital communication, then they lose fluency and competency in reading and writing. So I want to take you to a brief case study looking at Ethiopian languages. This is my area of expertise. In 2017, I did a content analysis looking at the most popular Facebook pages among Ethiopians, focusing on content that is Ethiopian specific. So what I found here, you can see in the graph, more than 50% of these Facebook comments were written in Amharic, but what was concerning to me was that so much of the Amharic was transliterated into the Latin script. And you can see more than 50% in fact. And you can see the native Ethiopic, which you can see in the upper right-hand corner, when it's transliterated, it's basically written quasi-phonetically in Latin characters. So you can see the days of the week there, first written in Amharic and Native Ethiopic, then transliterated, spelled out in Latin characters, and then the translation into English. Now, you might ask, we see this transliteration not only in the case of Ethiopian languages, but even in well-supported languages like Arabic. It's called Arabizi or Arabish. And so transliteration, writing in Latin script, what's the problem? You might argue it's a workaround that actually promotes digital access for minority languages. But I would argue that we also need to be concerned not just with access, but with script linguistic integrity. So for example, each Ethiopic character, such as this that represents the syllable ah, also has two other levels of meaning. One is a religious belief in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church and a numerical meaning. And so there's no way to actually capture this tri-level meaning through a transliterated spelling. So what digital supports do scripts need? Foundationally, they need Unicode support. Unicode 13.0 currently includes 154 scripts, but there are still 150 scripts that remain unencoded. We need keyboard and input support, so we need virtual keyboards, and they do exist, but often users around the world may not have the most up-to-date devices or may not know how to download them. So we also need hardware keyboards on entry-level mobile devices like feature phones. And ultimately, we need NLP tools such as autocorrect. Unfortunately, when people are transliterating, in fact, they may be trying to write Amharic in Latin, but it will be autocorrected to change it into an English word. And so these tools can actually work against users unless we develop them to be language specific. So what can we do? We need to actively imagine a future in which digital text serves all language and script communities rather than requiring them to adapt to text limitations. We need to continue to expand Unicode. You can donate to the Script Encoding Initiative at UC Berkeley, which is doing this work. We need to decolonize typography and expand our range of fonts. We need to build corpora and NLP tools for digitally disadvantaged languages, especially those written in non-Latin scripts. And we need to expand digital support for scripts in all domains, for example, library card catalog standards. And ultimately, we also need to hold big tech accountable for their support for different languages and scripts. Thank you very much.